genre.
Back to the Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Cass Fredrickson.
I'm Nick Jimenez.
And I'm Scott Corelli.
And today on the show, we'll be discussing my favorite Third Doctor story, The Curse of Peladon, the Third Doctor's 11th story.
Wow.
Yeah, heck yeah. This is a good one. Yeah, so this aired from January 29th through February 19th of 1972, and was written by Brian Hales and directed by Lenny Mayne. Yeah, so in like 71, like early 71, Brian Hales had submitted two story ideas called The Brain Dead and The Shape of Terror. Terrence Dicks was like, both of these are bad, but I like that the Ice Warriors are in Brain Dead, and I like that The Shape of Terror is a locked room mystery. So if you can come up with a story that has both of those things in it, I'd be down. And so then he conceived a story and then worked with Terrence Dicks and Barry Letts to devise the plot and really nail it down. And they decided that it would be fun if the big twist would be that the Ice Warriors weren't actually the serial's adversary. They thought that would be like a fun twist on a Doctor Who story that hadn't been done before. So Hales based the idea on the Hound of the Baskervilles, in which a mythical creature turns out to be a hoax. And then Let's also decided this season to start alternating between Earthbound stories and Alien Planet stories. So he this one in particular, because the reason being that like the Earthbound ones were like location stories, and then the Alien Planet ones would be like all studio stories. Mm-hmm. And you know how like they like to alternate those, to like, I don't know, prep, because I think it's like different. I think the studio crew and the location crew are different, and so to like let the location crew prep while the studio crew is working, et cetera, et cetera. You just sort of like go back and forth. And with this like process in mind, even though I think the first two stories of this season were location stories, they shot Curse of Peladon before the second story, and that was the first time that had ever happened in Doctor Who history. The fact that this was like shot out of order. Yes. And then David Troughton was cast to play King Peladon. David Troughton, of course, being the son of Patrick Troughton. And this was actually, funnily enough, this was actually his second or third time in the show. Previously, he had just been in the previous story that we just talked about. The Troughton story.
Oh, Enemy of the World?
Enemy of the World. Yeah, he's in Enemy of the World as like just like some random guy.
What?
In that. He doesn't have like a big part. But yeah, that was like the first time that he was in it, and it's just weird that we happened to cover those in a row.
Wow. There's like 8 people in that story.
Yeah, he's one of them. He might be, I don't remember if he is.
Is he like one of the randos in the bunker?
He might be one of the randos in the bunker.
Oh, okay.
He might also be like just like one of the like the random like bodyguard type guides.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were guards and stuff. I was only picturing like, the dude who gets poisoned and like
Yeah. If he had a speaking role, I think it was like one line and it was like, "Yes, sir." Like that kind of thing.
Hey, that guy's back.
Yeah, right. At the time that he made Curse of Peladon, funnily enough, David Troughton was actually roommates with an actor by the name of Colin Baker.
Oh my God, they were roommates.
Isn't it weird how incestuous Doctor Who is? Like,
yeah, I was gonna say like, oh, that's really wholesome. He got to work on a story with his dad. Like, that's cool. But then, like,
that's cool. But also, like, that he was roommates with a future Doctor.
Yeah.
But also, like
plays a bit part
in
another...
but then you think about that, and then it's like you have like David Tennant marrying Peter Davidson's daughter.
Yeah.
Like, there's just like a lot.
Who was in
an
episode?
Weird, there's just like a lot of weird like mixing and matching and things going on.
There's only 50 actors in London, Scott. So.
Right, of course, naturally.
It's like how like Tom Hiddleston and Charlie Cox are like BFFs, and you're like, that's so random.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, totally. So the director for the episode, Letty Mayne, while they were creating the original aliens for this story, he was he comes into the costume department to check out Alpha Centauri, and he was absolutely disgusted by this costume, which he believed to be just absolutely unambiguously phallic. He was like, "That's a dick." That is a dick.
Green dick.
Yeah.
With an eye.
That is. I don't care how high you pitch the voice. That's a dick. And so the costume designer Barbara Lane gave it a yellow cloak to hide the dickishness. So it's just a dick wearing a cloak.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know that thing actors, you'll hear actors say a lot, like, as soon as like costumes gave me like my character's jacket, or like as soon as I found this hat on, the props, the character just fell into place. I just found the character, and like,
right. That's
giving that thing a yellow cloak.
Yeah, it was speaking in a very deep voice before that, and then
hello,
you give it the yellow cloak, and it instantly changed.
Greetings, everyone.
Yeah. And yeah, that's it. That's it. I mean, pretty simple behind the scenes process on this one. What is definitely in like top 3 Pertwee's, I think unambiguously in the top 3, top 5. And I think a lot of people's favorites, like Cass's. Nick, what were your thoughts of watching Curse of the Peladon for the first time?
I'm kind of psyched. I don't think this happens very often on the show. I think I might be the weakest on this one of the 3 of us.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Well, it's like it was fun. It definitely, for my money, it was a vibe shift for 3.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it was a very like 7 story, or like a 6, just like a chamber room whodunit mystery. It's very much like that one we just watched with the Vervoids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I guess to me, we get some really cool slutty third Doctor moments. But he wasn't quite as like Kung Fu 70s action as like I like him. I've grown to like him being.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, like, great cast of characters, great just a gaggle of freaks in this one.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. I guess I'm just surprised that it's so unambiguously remembered as like one of the great third ones.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know if I would put this up with like some of my favorites that I've seen.
Yeah. I think it's because people, you either like hella vibe with the third Doctor's like grounded on Earth stuff.
gunfights and stuff.
Yeah, or you're like, man, I can't wait for this to be over and get to some like actual Doctor Who shit. You know?
Oh, that's true, because this is like the one where he's like, I finally fucking fixed the TARDIS. Let's go. And like, that probably was like a big fist pump moment for a lot of fans of the show.
Yeah. And it's also, I would say, you know, it's funny that you bring up like 6 and 7 as a comparison point to this, because this is like, I mean, I think you'll agree once you get further in, but this is like unambiguously like a Fourth Doctor story to me. Like I can, you can literally just lift these two out and put Sarah Jane and 4 in, and I'm like, yeah.
I guess I'm trying to think if I've seen him solve a lot of mysteries yet.
You will.
No. I know I will. I'm trying to think if I have before. I'm trying to think of 4 stories that I have already seen.
I don't think so.
I think the closest is like Pyramids of Mars.
Right.
Okay.
And that's not like as ensemble-y as this one is.
That's the one with the cool sarcophagus at the end, right?
Yeah.
That's how I'll always remember it.
Yeah. Cass, what is it about this story that you love so much?
Okay, so I feel like this is like a perfect intersection of like stuff that I'm interested in. Like there's a spooky castle, there's a scary monster that's actually not very scary. There's like fantasy politics in space. 3 isn't like a trial by combat, like to the death. Joe's
Romance.
pretending to be a princess. There's like a whispery like space prince. I don't know. Like
that's true. There is a pathetic space prince.
Yes, he's wearing like booty shorts and like thigh-high boots for no reason. I feel like this is the most classic Star Trek Doctor Who episode, which is also probably a reason that I vibe with this a lot. There's like, you know, like the Space Federation. That I'm obsessed with Alpha Centauri. There's like a weird little head in a tank. And this is
Arcturus. Yeah, he's great too.
This is also my first Ice Warriors episode that I ever saw. Which I think is why I like the Ice Warriors so much. But like I was thinking about it earlier, and I think the Ice Warriors are kind of like the Hulk, where like I'm not interested in the Hulk as a solo character, but as soon as you put them in an ensemble, it's like my favorite part.
It's on.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really like this one a lot. I like that like even though the the aliens like are not you know, it's 70s Doctor Who, so like the costuming is not the best, but like they play it as like serious as a car accident, and I love that. Like
yes.
It's like, no, we have to decide the space politics right now. And it's 4 episodes, which like you can't beat that. So
That's true. Yeah, no, I just really like that this story is the Third Doctor and Joe like showing up to like you know, just like randomly showing up here and like asking for a tow basically, and then being like, so you're like here to solve our problem, right? And they're like,
yes
yeah, sure, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I just I like that. I don't know. It's just really I don't know, it's just really fun. I mean, it's literally just like them like randomly showing up to like intergalactic medieval times.
yeah.
Just role playing the whole thing.
And I love what you said. I love when they take a really classic literary story. Like I remember last time with the story that was inspired by the Flying Dutchman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And once you said it, I was like, oh, that's absolute. And same thing with Hound of the Baskervilles. Like that is what this is. I wish they would return to literature more often and try and like remix classics, like get them down to their essence, and then add a bunch of freaky, weird Doctor Who stuff on top.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but it's just a fun time. It's a fun time. Yeah, it's not like the best story to like represent the Third Doctor's era, because it really does like stick out in that way.
Mhm.
But like, if you're just like looking at like good Doctor Who stories across eras, you're like, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty fun.
Like
I like that.
the moment that I think about when someone says the Third Doctor like isn't even in the story, but like this is like my favorite one because it's just like it's a good time. Like I made Norman watch it with me, and he was like, "What is that?" When like Alpha Centauri's like, "Hello, I am Alpha Centauri." Like
He kind of sounds like Martin from The Simpsons.
They're doing their best over there.
They are. So we open with it's interesting learning that the curse of Peladon is like a dude's name and not like a monster.
Yeah.
Well, it's a planet.
It's a planet. And then
well, it's like it's a Vegeta situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking for Vegeta, my son, the planet, or me.
Yes.
Right.
Shout out to Team 4-Star. We meet King Peladon, ruler of the planet Peladon, and he's torn between two mentors. So we got Torbis, who's like the chancellor, and then we have Hapesh, who is like the high priest. There are a team of
no king should ever trust their high priest. I feel like if we've learned anything from all of media,
name a good high priest. Yeah.
Name a good one. Let's see. There's Jafar.
Sire, I think you'll find that the Federation should not make trade with. Oh, I'm going to listen to this guy.
Yeah.
Never
trust a high priest.
That would be a great Doctor Who open if like random planet and then like a young prince and then it's like, well, I have to consult my royal vizier and it's like the Doctor.
Oh yeah.
Merlin. That's what I'm saying.
Merlin.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there are a team of delegates coming that represent the Federation, a united group of planets that are, sharing and all of kinds of like economic details with each other. And whereas Peladon is kind of this outer planet that stayed by itself, Hapesh is like, we need to keep being isolated. This Federation is a pack of lunatics. It's like this is not, and they have a deity named Agador that the Hapesh worships. And Torbis is like, no, it's the future. We need to join the Federation, hop on the bus, Gus. And Peladon's like, I agree with Torbis. We should hop on the bus, Gus. And Torbis goes out into the hallway and it's like, well, I'll see you all in the morning. And he's like, no. And we see the viewers see this kind of hairy beast like attack Torbis. And when they rush out, he's dead. And Hapesh is like, it is Agador's will that this man was throttled to death.
Later we find out that he just fucking murdered him. He trained a bear to kill a man.
An ancient mythological bear, but a bear nonetheless.
It looks like Alf.
It does look like Alf. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that too.
Yeah, it looks like Alf like walking on all fours. Yeah.
Like feral Alf.
The statue that we see later that almost falls on people literally looks like we found like a Lovecraftian like Alf.
It's true.
Buried beneath the sands. So, meanwhile, as I alluded to, the Doctor has finally got the TARDIS and he's working and he's going for a joyride, but Jo is in tow and she's feeling a little restless. This was very reminding me a lot of like 12 and Clara.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's got a hot date with Yates, right? It's Yates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is the only time this ever comes up. And it's a thing that they were like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to make them fall in love. And they just like, there was no chemistry. And like, everyone was just like, never mind.
Is Yates the one that she makes a little plate for in that one episode that we watched?
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah. He's the tall, goofy looking guy. He's like, he's like Brigadier's deputy.
He's not he's not the taller, goofy looking one because that's Benton. But Yates is the captain, like the more handsome one.
Oh, the one that I don't have any feelings about.
I guess so.
Oh, yeah. Wait, is he the one that pulled rank on the dude and like ate the? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of
Yeah,
he's kind of
okay,
an asshole.
Okay, he's the guy that sucks. Okay.
Well, that
Yeah,
actually
I
really
would-
tracks.
Yeah, so I would respect Jo if she was going on a date with Benton, but like,
Well, no, but Benton's a beta. And
all
Yates-
right.
It's like, she's like, oh, he's a jerk and he took that guy's food, but he's assertive and he asked me out on like that beta cuck.
Well, in any event, I will say
Sure.
that I think that I'm glad that they didn't do anything with any of that, and but the result is that because she's about to go on a date, Jo is looking great.
I love
in
her
this
dress.
story. She's she's super hot in the story. I'm not gonna lie.
A really fun, because this is not the first time that we've really like celebrated Jo for her fit in like a story. I think it was just the last episode we were talking about that.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool to do some kind of ranking episode or tier episode with like companion style.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It might be a lot of work, like a mood board of like, we look at Martha.
Yeah, you'd have to make like an episode outfit mood board and like
Bros.
figure it out from there. Yeah, but
That's got to
That'd
be
be-
a YouTube video out there.
probably, yeah. I don't know.
So this was crazy. So they apparate, the Doctor appears on a cliffside, or the TARDIS appears on a cliffside.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I've
they-
never heard anyone call the TARDIS landing apparating. You're technically
Yeah.
correct. I've just never. That just threw me. I was like, yeah. I mean, I guess that is what it
Your
was
Harry
doing.
Potter fandom showing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that's what it is. What you call
Yep.
it. And so it's classic Doctor Who. The Doctor's like, oh, we're totally on Earth. Like, look at these stats. We're on Earth. And they open the thing. They open the TARDIS door, and they manage to climb out. And the TARDIS like falls and crashes to the ground, and it was heart wrenching to watch.
Yeah. It just falls down a mountain, down a cliffside, into the fog.
Yes.
Cass, is this the most wasted a TARDIS has gotten yet?
I think so. I don't remember any other like TARDIS tumbling off a cliff. I love the miniature too. Like I love when they do the
Yeah.
TARDIS miniature.
Yes.
It's so great.
I feel like they never. The thing I love about the miniature is like anytime it moves, I feel like they've I don't know, they're over relying on the slow motion to sell how heavy the TARDIS is, and it's not quite
Yeah.
working because it kind of falls down like a feather.
It's super dramatic. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
And Joe's like, no, but Doctor's pretty like, oh no, we'll be. It's indestructible, man. Like we're good.
Meanwhile, the TARDIS is like, "Hey, fuck you, man! It still hurt."
Yeah, it's true. So at this point, back at the castle, Chateau Peladon, the delegates arrive, and yeah, we get the delegate from Alpha Centauri, who's like, yeah, a green phallic shape with a big old eye in the middle, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
And then the yellow cloak. Did it have little wavy tentacle things, or am I imagining that?
It has like multiple sets of arms.
That's what
It's like they like wiggle around.
Yeah.
and they're
You definitely get like inflatable like
Woo!
vibes
Yes,
from
yes.
like the inflatable tube man vibes from Alpha Centauri. Absolutely.
And they are a non-gendered kind of just gelatinous blob. And Arcturus is the other delegate, which I guess is also kind of, I forgot if Arcturus ever had like pronouns or anything like that, but they are a green, like a raisin in a jar full of green liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motorized on some kind of like machine that moves around. It's like kind of like that fish from Megamind, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. A raisin that always looks like it's up to something.
A scheming raisin. Yeah.
Yes.
So they do kind of counter each other well, because you have like Alpha Centauri who's like, oh no, what's gonna happen? And like Arcturus is much more like, yes.
You know what it is? Alpha Centauri is like a Sid and Marty Krofft character.
Yes. You know what
Yeah.
that is, Cass?
I don't think so.
Like HR Puffin stuff?
No.
Wow, I can't wait for you to Google HR Puffin
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I think they also did like the old like McDonald Land characters like in the 70s. Or maybe McDonald's just ripped them off. I don't
Land of the
remember.
Lost. They made a bunch of like
Yeah.
surreal 70s kids cartoons with like really creepy looking like
Cass
monster-
found it.
What in
Oh,
the...
okay.
Googled.
Okay,
I found
what
it.
the hell?
Yeah.
That looks like
They're
a Nightmare
who-
Muppet.
Yeah, if Doctor Who had been like remade in America in the 70s, it would have been by Sid and Marty
Oh
Krofft.
my god,
I'm
that's gonna
almost
haunt my
positive.
nightmare. Like what? Okay.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
kids used to watch. That was their like Arthur.
Yeah. I watched it as a kid too. In reruns.
And then we also get the two ice warriors. You have the delegate and their like bodyguard,
Mhm.
and they kind of round each other out because the ice warriors are very stoic and kind of like Klingon-ish. And so the three of them kind of, I don't know, they make a really effective triangle, I think.
Yeah.
Hapesh tells the delegates about the other guy, Torbis's murder, and they're like, "Oh, can we go? Because like a dude got murdered."
That's
And-
not chill.
Yeah, and they're like, "No, this has to go on. We have to like argue whether or not Peladon's going to enter the Federation." Meanwhile,
Well, strike one. There's
Yeah.
been a murder.
it's been a murder. That's kind of how they treat it.
Yeah.
Joe finds a tunnel on the cliffside, and they explore the tunnels, and the doctor's like, "That's interesting. Like, there's a lit torch here."
Mhm.
Almost as if we're not the first people to be down these tunnels. They hear a roar, right? They hear like a monster roar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we kind of learn more about
God.
Peladon's. Please.
I'm just realizing how often the third Doctor finds himself in some kind of tunnel and then hears a distant monster sound.
Yep.
Like that's almost every third Doctor story that happens at some point. There it is again.
I'll find out what that is soon enough. And we learn kind of King Peladon's dilemma, which is like, he's a young man. Who knows how old he is, but he's a young man, and he wants Peladon to be modern and like advance with the times and grow. And so he's tempted to join the Federation, but then also he has Hapesh's voice ringing in his ear about, the will of Agrador, and also like they're going to exploit us. They think that we're a bunch of like backwards primitive people. And, Alpha Centauri and Octura, they are fairly condescending to Peladon and Hapesh. So kind of going back to the Star Trek cast, which is like dead on of like, the episode doesn't give any easy answers as to like what the right course of action is. And like every alien culture represented is fleshed out enough to where you kind of understand why they all have the opinion they do. Doctor and Joe arrive. This was maybe my favorite moment in the whole story is Hapesh is a very like dismissive of Joe, and he's like, "Well, is she royalty? Because she's not allowed to be in here if she's not royalty." And Joe is like, "Hey, who's the man in charge? Because I don't fucking talk to the help."
Yeah. She's like in character immediately, and I love that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's like she knows what's up. And then the Doctor rolls with it and is like, "Oh yeah, she's Princess Joanne of TARDIS." So
It's good
good,
stuff.
good yes anding. I don't know. Like I could picture, like if this were Perry and Six, he'd be like, "Shut up! No, you're not. You're a slave. She's a slave."
Oh, poor Perry.
And then Cass, the immediately King Peladon sees Joe and is like, "Oh, hell yeah."
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like smitten.
I mean, and it clearly has nothing to do with the fact that she's the first woman to enter this story.
Nothing at all. One note that I guess I kind of wish I'd gotten more, because it's introduced here, is the Doctor is extremely skeptical and suspicious of the Ice Warrior delegate because he's tangoed with these guys before.
Mm-hmm.
And a very Star Trek idea is he kind of, the idea of the hero having a prejudice.
Mm-hmm. They killed his son.
They killed, those Klingon bastards that killed my son.
Those Ice Warrior bastards.
They ruined my day. And I kind of wish that was challenged more from the Doctor. Him being like, oh crap, like am I that much different than Hapesh or any of these other prejudiced characters? Because I too had my own, and the Ice Warriors end up becoming very like noble mostly in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The only time, like, they don't like Doctor Who as a show doesn't like the Doctor to be morally wrong very often. They'll challenge him sometimes, but then more often than not, he's proven correct. Like all those times that he's like, oh, maybe these Daleks are good. No, they're not good. They're never good. Like, oh, maybe I'm the wrong one to think that Davros hasn't changed. No, he hasn't. You're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He's bad. That happens a lot. But yeah, he never gets to be challenged in a way of like, I think they might be bad, and then they end up not being bad. I can't think of an example of that.
Robin Hood's not real. Oh, wait, he might be. No, he's not real.
No, he's not real. Yeah. See? He's never wrong. Yeah.
And as Cass alluded to, episode 1 ends with they're like, all right, well, meeting adjourned. We'll pick this up tomorrow. And they head back into the hallway, the murder hallway, I guess.
The murder hallway.
And it ends with an Alf statue about to fall on the delegates.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Alf's back in statue form.
Nice. Episode 2, the Doctor pushes the Ice Warrior delegate out of the way, and kind of like a Telltale game. Slithar will remember that.
Yes, right. Yeah. Oh man, this episode's loaded with those.
See?
Yes. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Ooh, that's a great idea. Like a Telltale game with this kind of like murder mystery Star Trek vibe.
Oh, I just thought you were going to be like a Doctor Who Telltale game. And
oh, for sure.
Absolutely, yes. In fact, that's probably the best way of adapting Doctor Who into a video game. Would be a Telltale.
Because it's very like conversation relationship based and not like shooty run. Well, there's a lot of running, but
yeah. But also like you could do, because Telltale games are released in episodes, you could do a new adventure each episode. All like lead to like one like ultimate, climax.
With like cliffhangers at the end of each one.
Yeah. Oh man. And like what if you could have like in the first episode you meet two people and you can make either one of them your companion depending on.
Ooh. And then based on which one you don't pick, like that influences the story going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Yeah, you meet like, a young kind of like hood, like an ace kind of character. Like I'm a scrapper and I'm 17, and then you kind of get like a fun old guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, what vibe do I want?
That's I think that's how you have to do Doctor Who as a video game versus like what they have done in the past where they're like, yeah, this is kind of canon, right? Like it doesn't bother anything. It doesn't undo anything. It's not important. So like, yeah, play this very inconsequential story that doesn't matter. It would be cool to just be like, this is Telltale's Doctor, like it's its own thing.
Oh, that's because I was gonna be, because like with Back to the Future, they've done older stuff before. So imagine doing one where it was like the fourth Doctor, and then a year from now they announce like the next one, and it's like the 11th Doctor. Like they don't have to go in order at all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if Big Finish hadn't eaten their lunch, they could have done like a 7th Doctor, like continuation from the last season. But they also could have done an 8th Doctor, Telltale stuff. That would have been cool. I don't know. Anyway.
Cass, any thoughts on a Telltale Doctor Who game before we...
I mean, like, I would play that.
Cool.
Anyway.
Better than like a free-to-play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gallifrey, Fortnite.
Proof.
episode 2, yeah, so he pushes him out of the way, saves the delegate, and immediately Hepesh is like, Agador did that. Agador wants all of you out of here. The doctor's like, no, I think something pushed this statue in front of them to kill them.
Agador, that's what I said.
Yeah. And yeah, there's this interesting thing about like, well, maybe we don't want to be raised up to the heights of the Federation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we like kicking shit. You don't know.
Cass, we get a the kind of the beginning of the pathetic Space Prince arc. We get.
Oh my god!
Do you want to walk us through this?
Yeah,
moment?
so like he flirts with Joe. Joe kind of like wants to befriend him. And she is. I like that Joe is kind of like our like moral compass for this story. Like we were just talking about how the Doctor like isn't really challenged at all, but like through Joe, I think that's how, because like Joe's the one that interacts with the Ice Warriors later on. But she's like, oh yeah, you're kind of vaguely human, like let's be friends. And and he is like very like he's very his whole thing is like, you know, like, well, I really want this to happen, like this the Federation to happen, but like also I'm a sad boy and I just lost like my parents and my mentor and all this stuff. And Joe like tries to empathize with him, but like ultimately like he's like, hey, we should like get to know each other, you know, like know each other. And she's just like, no, we just met. And it's basically that, like all like later on,
well,
like she doesn't know where the Doctor is and she's like really upset about it. And he is like, oh no, it's like when the doctor like commits a crime
yeah,
on accident, and then he's sentenced to death, and Joe is understandably very upset about it. So the prince is like trying to, or the king is like trying to comfort her, but then he like proposes to her and she's just like, dude, what?
Like in this first scene that they have, I kind of got the feeling that Joe was into it, if only for like the, oh my god, this like king is into me.
Yeah,
it's like hot.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. But then he's like, yeah, if Earth and Peladon merge our two kingdoms, then it could be. And she's like, oh, you just want a political ally. And he's like, yeah.
Like,
he's like,
obviously.
I thought you wanted to fuck, and then just like runs away like crying.
And he's like, Earth women, am I right?
Yeah, I also I think their relationship is really funny. But also I need to point out, like, there are multiple scenes in this story, and we just had one, but there are multiple scenes in this story where all of the delegates minus the Doctor are all chatting amongst themselves, and it is the best thing in the world. It's just a bunch of aliens standing around talking about politics.
Yeah, they're all green too, so it's like
oh, it's the best. I love it. Oh, man.
I would kill for any of these creatures to like make an appearance in New and New Who.
Yeah, we've already had Ice Warriors a couple times.
It's not the same. They need to have the Lego hands. It's the Lego hands and like the vaguely like,
yeah,
I don't know.
They also just need to come back where they're like part of an ensemble, and not and not like the main villain, because like they're not that interesting as adversaries.
Like imagine like the Pandorica opens and like, you know, they're all like condemning the Doctor, and then it just cuts to Alpha Centauri and it's like, you've taken the walls of time and space and made them your playthings. What's that they doing here? I haven't seen that since the
Incredible.
There's an attempted murder.
Mm-hmm.
They find Octurus, and someone is like pulled just shit out of his helmet and he's like bubbling or whatever. And then the Doctor is the one who finds Octurus, so he is the prime suspect. He is caught at the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
we learn it turns out that like so again Hepesh is like, oh, Agador did this. Agador killed this guy. But they're like, no, whoever did this had to have known what things to pull. So this was clearly like a being, like a person.
Yeah. I love that I love that Hepesh is like, the way they depict him is just like, yeah, like, you know, no big deal. I know how to manipulate the king, so I'll just do that with all these other people. And they're all like, no, we're not stupid.
Oh.
Your king is a moron. It's one of the reasons why we're thinking of not letting you guys in.
Like, you think God knew what wires to pluck out of this dude's hardware?
Right, yeah.
This is where the doctor is like, well, the ice warriors are really sus, so let's go into their room and see if we can find the missing piece, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That happens. Oh, I do want to, we got to call out the doctor. They, them pronouns, dude. Like, come on. The bit where he's like trying to like explain what Alpha Centauri species is like.
Yes.
And he calls them an it. It's an it, actually. And like, it's,
I give them a pass because it was the 70s.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
But it was striking. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And something the cast brought up, and that we're kind of glossing over because it's like hard to do in a recap format. Yeah. But like the episode goes out of their way to be like, well, no, Arcturus's planet is poor in minerals.
Yeah.
Or like they say that like every planet in the Federation has been like war ravaged in the past.
Or like at war with each other and then have since made peace. And so like now this alliance is like very dependent on like keeping each other in check.
Yeah. And like it like it's a good mystery because you can like every turn you're like, oh well, it would make sense that the Ice Warriors would do this. Or like stuff will happen and be like, oh, maybe Hepesh is right. Like maybe this Federation does kind of suck, you know?
Yeah.
And then like as Cass alluded to, the doctor accidentally does a sacrilege.
Yes. He's like wandering around in the tunnels, which he doesn't know is illegal, and then he like touches one of the elf statues, which is apparently like a holy statue. And I think is it Hepesh that finds him? He's just like, oh.
Yeah, well, and it was all a setup because Hepesh told Grun, who's like this big guy, mute guy.
Yes,
he tells
we have
Grun,
not brought up Grun yet.
Kill this fucking guy.
Yes,
we just got to kill him.
Yeah.
He's too smart. He's figured out my clever plans. We got to ice this guy. That's
where it's like, hey,
Grun like but what we think is that he's like. He's telling Grun to like murder the doctor, but in fact he's like, no, the plan is you're going to lead him to the room where if he touches that thing, and he will, because he's a real touchy-feely kind of guy, then we can sentence him to death and we can murder him legally.
Which, you know, like as far as evil plans go, that's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah. And it keeps Grun's hands clean, you know? Like, he's not telling him to, like, strangle him with his bare hands. He's like, no, just lead him to the room where if he touches anything, we can kill him.
Grun know that walking crime on Peladon.
Hey.
News to Grun.
Hey, Grun's mute.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're giving him way too much credit.
He might be able to speak in full sentences.
Yeah, he's not like the guy in Brain of Morbius. I don't remember his name.
Right. Yeah, he's
no,
not
thank
the Hulk.
You. I a thing I say often on this show is, oh, they should bring this back to the new show. And I would like to counter that. This is kind of something I'm glad has gone the way of the dodo, is like the mute brute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. They found like much more clever ways of doing stuff like that.
Subterfuge.
Yeah.
So part 3, the doctor is on trial yet again for doing a sacrilege, and Hepesh is like, burn him, kill him, and the doctor's like, this is a farce. This whole trial is a farce. And he gets condemned to. Please.
This episode is really interesting because it's. You're right. You start with this little trial, and you end with the trial by combat. And the rest of the episode is him just waiting around for the trial of combat to start, trying to figure out a way out of it, but not like it's its own like kind of self-contained little like it has its own like beginning, middle, and end, which you can't really say for a lot of like middle parts of a serial, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. They and he gets lured on another. Hepesh does his thing again, where he kind of makes the Doctor hoist himself by his own petard. So they're like, okay, you're gonna get trial by combat in the morning, and then in the morning, but Hepesh is like, hey man, I don't want to see you die either, because you're gonna have to fight Grun, and Grun's like, he's like our, yeah, he'll rip you.
Yeah,
he's the royal himbo.
He's our royal himbo.
We don't want to lose him.
And so he makes the Doctor a map, and like, here's how you escape. And the Doctor's like, you want me to escape so you can catch me escaping and kill me. I'm gonna just wait and do the trial by combat. And the Doctor and the Hepesh is like,
Interesting.
Damn it.
Damn it. You really are a genius.
But we do learn too that he like reveals like why he's so against them joining the Federation, and he's like, yeah, I'm scared of Peladon like losing its superstitions. You know, and it's really
priest.
about you figure out that it's really about a guy who's afraid of losing his job.
Yeah, well,
like
and like the way that he controls people too.
For sure. But the power of like his job, like he's like, my job wouldn't exist anymore. Like it's gonna go
like
away.
Power, and it's a very astute statement. Like there's a kernel of truth to it. With so often those like the zealots, the ones that like bang the pots the hardest. It's not merely coming from a place of devotion. It's coming from a place of like fear,
right?
Fear of the future, fear of losing power,
right? Yeah.
This is when the Doctor meets the big hairy monster, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he hypnotizes it.
Cass, what did you think of Pertwee's musical performance in this?
I love when Pertwee sings.
Yeah.
I think, like, because he sings in the shower in Spearhead in Space. I don't know if he ever sings again, but, like, every time he does, it's a delight.
It is.
I appreciate how fleshed out the language, the alien garble language was that he was singing, you know? It kind of sounded like Hebrew.
Well, so the Venusian nursery rhyme, what is it? Cochleda Partha Menin Klatch. It was introduced in the Demons. So he did sing in the Demons as well, I believe.
Oh shit, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. The Diamonds. But in this, they worked really hard on figuring out how to the language and like what he was going to say and all these things in the Demons. But in this, it was sort of last minute that they switched. It was originally something else, and then they changed it to the Venusian nursery rhyme. And he was like, yeah, just sing the same thing that you sang before. And he was like, I don't want it to be the same thing. So he uses the same words that he did in the Demons. Like it's the same exact, but the tune is to God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen.
Yes.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, I caught that. Da, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
But the way he like puts emphasis on some of it, it's just like a little swingy. Yeah. He plays a little loosey goosey with it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's good,
and it makes it feel like a real song.
Yeah,
because it
That's
is
awesome.
Like, and so the Doctor's like, hey, I found there's a dude in there. There's like a creature, and the Hepesh is like, no, he's lying. And so then, the trial by combat happens.
He's like, that thing's a trained beast. It's not a ghost.
It's not a ghost.
Yeah. I made it my friend.
And, from Hepesh's perspective, the idea of a foreigner, and I guess King Peladon, a foreigner being like, hey, your god is just like a dumb bear that I lulled into a stupor with my flute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's the most sacrilegious thing I've ever heard with my ears. So you're gonna fight Grun now in the pit.
You're gonna fight my friend.
Oh man, I love the moment though, like because Joe this entire time is hanging out with the Ice Warriors, and she's like, "I thought you were the bad guys. The doctor told me you were the bad guys," and they're like, "Yeah, well, we have a history of being bad, but we're good now, and also the doctor saved our lives, so like we have a life debt." And so she's trying to find the doctor because the doctor does end up leaving his room to go like hang out in the tunnels with the monster. So she finds him. And she finds him when the doctor is like in the middle of hypnotizing Agador, and she scares him off. She scares Agador off. And then the doctor like shows her his little hypnotizing machine, and then like she just like her expression is just blank for a few seconds, which was like so funny because it only took like two seconds for her to be like, "What?" Like,
so good.
You reminded me of something, Cass. Is like at this point, I think it's episode 3. They think that Joe and the Doctor are the ones who attacked Atticus, and they're like, "Well, I overheard the king and Princess Joe talking, so they're going to try and get married, and then an Earth Peladon alliance will form." And it's like throughout this whole episode, there is such an emphasis put on mistrust, and like. None of these characters ever assume the best of anyone, and always assume there's an angle, which really kind of cements where Doctor and Joe end up in this episode, and like their trust of each other and belief in them as like a friend.
But what's interesting too, though, is it also proves the necessity of the Federation, which is that it's this system that is above any one species once you join it, that is meant to make sure that everyone is like on equal footing. You know what I mean? So so it's like it's beyond distrust because it's the system is, keeping everybody trustworthy.
It's like that Mark Twain quote that Beast from X-Men said the other day: "The quickest way to get rid of an enemy is to make it your friend."
Yeah. So there's that. Also, I want to point out that I like the conversation. I think Cass alluded to it earlier. But the conversation where Peladon is telling, is making sure that the Doctor is going to be in the trial by combat and everything.
Yeah.
And Joe is like, "Hey, like, the hell? I thought we were cool." And he was like, "Listen, my only job as king is to make sure that our laws happen." And I was like, and I'm just thinking, then what the fuck is the point of you? Like, why do you need to be there? Like, the law exists with or without you. So if you can't like deny a law for a very like reasonable reason, I don't really understand. But he kind
of like, and then he kind of like doesn't uphold the law really, because like the Doctor is supposed to like be put to death on the spot, and then he's just like, "Well, I guess we can make an exception in his case, and he can like try and fight his way out."
Yeah,
like
it's all very strange. And then after he's like, "All right, well, trial by combat in like 30 minutes. Meet you guys down at medieval times. We'll see you soon." Everybody but Joe. And so they all leave, and Joe's there, and he's like, "Anyway, so I wanted to talk to you about maybe some marriage."
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you just set my friend to trial by... And he's like, "Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with us, baby."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Whoa."
It's kind of interesting because he is like, I don't see the issue because like this is my job. This is and this is my heart. This is like personal.
This is work-life balance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And never the two shall cross.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that's good. Anyway.
When does Arcturus get shot? Is that the end of 3 or the beginning of 4?
No, so that's the beginning of 4. So what the end of 3, so we get the trial by combat, which is a lot of overhead shots, which is like, it's very long, and it's a lot of just them like flipping over each other and stuff. And it's all like overhead.
Okay, wait.
It's all overhead shots, which gives it the medieval times vibes that I've been referring to.
Okay, yeah. So they are lowered into a pit by climbing down ropes. The cage is like made of rope, and then there's like weapons, and it's like a sandbox.
Yes.
And it's like 5 minutes of John Pertwee rolling around in the sand.
Yep.
Trying to fight this guy.
Quote unquote John Pertwee.
Yes. The doctor.
Definitely not a stuntman in a wig.
Yeah. They went up to the hammock that the stuntman had been sleeping in for the past 5 years, and they were like, "Hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but we got to use you today. Like, he's fighting and stuff." And he's like, "What?
Oh shit! I got to go buy a wig." And he just buys like the first like old lady gray wig he finds at the drugstore.
So good.
Yeah, and so they fight for a while or whatever, and then like the doctor is like, "I could kill him right now. I could strangle him with these ropes, but I'm not going to." And like, and then that's when we get two people. We get the Ice Warriors and the other dude both like fire their weapons, and you think like they're both firing at the doctor. And
but
then in actuality, in the fourth episode, you find out the Ice Warrior was shooting the other guy who was trying to shoot the doctor, which was that's a pretty good cliffhanger resolution. I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty good. Haven't seen that one before.
Nope.
It passes your test.
Yeah, they've got a gun.
Yeah.
But then it was like one was actually had the doctor's back the whole time.
Yeah.
So they deduce that Arcturus' planet is very mineral poor. They don't have a lot of natural resources, whereas Peladon is rich in natural resources. So they deduce that Hapesh and Arcturus had made some kind of secret pact together to sabotage the Federation's efforts in order to secure a secret alliance between Peladon and wherever the hell Arcturus came from. I think Arcturus. I think they're all just named for their planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like Zombieland. And then they figure it all out. There's kind of an uprising. Grun turns against Hapesh.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because the doctor spared him. So the doctor's his homie now.
Yeah, but also he learns about how Hapesh was using his religious beliefs to manipulate him.
Yes.
And he was like, what a dick. Like, you just look at him, he's just standing in the background while the doctor's explaining everything that Hapesh did and his betrayal by like working with the other guy and like what their plans were. And he was you just see him back in the background, just like slowly like brooding, just like, that motherfucker. Like, you can just see him back there, just like, son of a bitch.
So there's going to be a vote, a decision that's going to be made about whether or not Peladon will join the Federation. The doctor goes back into the catacombs and lures Agador to the surface and finally reveals, like, look at your god. He's just a hound of the bastard.
A very good boy.
He's a very good boy. And man, the way Hapesh dies is funny.
Yeah. They literally do the like, we'll both call to him and whoever he goes to will be the owner of the dog. They literally do that trick and he goes to Hapesh and just fucking kills him. Just murders him. I was like, I guess that's a version of that. Yeah.
And Peladon is like, no, Hapesh. And Hapesh is like, you know what? I take it all back. If I could do it all again, I'd make some changes. And then it's the coronation, right? The coronation of King Peladon.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't king already?
I think he was like, there were like two regents or whatever, and they were waiting for him to like come of age or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess.
He finally turned 18.
Which means like Joe was like prepared to bang a 17-year-old. While literally on her way to another date. Joe.
Messy icon.
I feel like this situation is why the Mike Yates thing never happens, because she leaves this and goes to Mike and it's just like, hey, like I almost fucked a prince.
Made out with a space king.
Yeah,
so
I
like...
don't think this is anything. I think we need to just let it go. I'm sorry, man. That's my bad.
You know, Joe and Amy have like similar vibes now that I think about it.
Yeah, I think Amy's a little more chaotic. She's like, Joe is like chaotic neutral, and like Amy's a little more chaotic evil, I think.
Like,
oh my god!
Hey, doctor, do you want to make out behind that bush on my wedding night?
Yeah,
yes.
that's I'd say that ranks into chaotic evil territory,
and in front of Rory, like within earshot of Rory.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. With Joe, it's like the chaos finds her, but Amy kind of creates it.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and then they're having this like, they're like, hey, we should take off, right? And Doctor's like, let's stay for the coronation. And then Joe's like, hey, like, you were supposed to go to Earth and we landed on here. Do you think it was the Time Lords again? And the Doctor's like, it is the Time Lords, but I'm glad you got there. They're like, let's go fuck them up again, right? That's kind of what they're.
Yeah.
But then we get one last joke.
Right.
The actual delegate from Earth is like, hello, I'm here for the bullshit. And they're like, well, but if you, then they, and they're like, well, let's get out of here.
Yeah, they just like walk backwards out of the room, like the Simpsons meme, like walking into the bush.
Yeah. What a ride. What a fun ride.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So what was the curse of Peladon?
It's the like spirit of Agador thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking plant. I wasn't thinking planet. That was my problem.
He's a weak king. That's his curse.
Yeah. Well, but also wasn't there? It had something to do with like a previous king, right? The Agador curse had something to do with a previous king, so it could be not the planet and be the king, but not this king. It's like three Peladon.
He's supposed to be like their protector or whatever, and then like when something bad happens, he's gonna come back and do the stuff.
Yeah. That's the Hound of the Baskerville angle. Is like should an outsider ever come with ill intention, the Beast of Agador will rise and beat him up like a gorilla.
It's true. Oh man, good story. I love it. I just love it. It's so fun.
Good shit.
It's very silly, and that's a high compliment, I would say. Yeah. Okay. So next week we're back with the Fourth Doctor talking about Seeds of Doom. Seeds of Doom, kind of like one of those classic Fourth Doctor stories you get heard thrown around a lot as a favorite. I don't really remember it, to be perfectly honest. I've seen it once, and it's
kind of like loosely inspired by The Thing, right? Like
is that right? Okay, because I always get it confused with Joe's last story that all has to do with plants.
Oh, the Green Death?
Yeah, I always get Green Death and Seeds of Doom.
Oh,
because like it feels like they're interchangeable, titles.
Seeds of Doom has the Fourth Doctor moment that I reference the most.
Oh, okay.
Which is, it's actually like, I don't know, we'll talk about it. But...
Yeah. Seeds of Doom next week. Looking forward to it. If you check out the links in the show notes, we got Discord, we got a Patreon, all that stuff, if you want to help us out. Also, if you are listening to us on YouTube, I don't know, like and subscribe, I guess that's what you're supposed to do. Anyway, thanks everybody, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.